Hi everyone, get some people up here on stage. Welcome to the RedwoodJS Meetup, and we'll do a few introductions here in a moment as everyone starts entering the webinar. Welcome, welcome. Excited you're all here.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Wow, that's a lovely red shirt.
Oh, you haven't seen all of it yet. Tom, are you ready?
I like it.
Oh, I went to Radio Shack recently.
Really? What'd you get?
A month ago. Well, I may have lost my power adapter, and it turns out Radio Shack carries MacBook Mag 2 power adapters. Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Or is it like there's one Blockbuster left? There's like one Radio Shack left.
I think so. It was like a Radio Shack / grocery store. I don't know. They were sharing some.
I'm so amazed that they had that adapter that you were looking for.
I completely agree.
Did they try to sell you batteries?
People. Dom, are you out there? Dom. All right, Dom, I'm going to bring you up on stage now. Come up when you're ready. Go from there.
Did Radio Shack still ask for your zip code?
Still ask, no, I don't recall.
Yeah, they used to always ask for your zip code and like try to sell you batteries at the checkout every time.
Because we used to need batteries for things. Not everything had its own.
I used to go there a lot as a kid, like a lot, to buy electronic stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was a cool place. Dom.
I used to etch my own using ferric chloride, which is this horrible brown chemical. And you could write on you get like just a blank PCB board, just with like copper over the whole thing, and you use a Sharpie, and you could draw the circuitry on it and where you wanted to mount things. And then you'd etch it in ferric chloride, this nasty chemical, this copper chemical, and it would etch away all of the copper except where you had drawn on it with a Sharpie. And so you could kind of make your own PCB boards that way.
Yeah,
I did that once in my life. That's pretty fun. You might have had a better childhood than I did.
You see, now people do them like they have the the home built CNC machines, and people use those now to trace the routes, or I guess between the routes.
Yeah, that's a bet. I'm sure it comes out with a nicer board that way. The problem would be like it would etch unevenly sometimes, so you'd have parts fully etched and other parts where it was starting to eat through the Sharpie. Good times.
We'll see. Claire, are you here? We might just go ahead and bring you up to stage now.
She said hello there.
Welcome. Oh, there. Yo, back at you. All right, come on up when you can. So here's what's going on. Welcome everybody. I'll do a little bit of a preface about what's about to happen and how things are going to happen, how you can be involved. Claire, welcome. Well, first off, welcome to live storm, because we are live. And we are recording this. This will go up later on. There's a lot of ways to interact. We'll do some announcements, presentations, and while that's happening, please feel free to engage in the chat and ask questions. There's a questions tab you can use, and that's a good way for us to see in order as things are coming through. As presentations happening, when they're done, we can come back to the questions tab and answer questions that way. And then at the very end, we'll have open discussion and Q&A. Our stage got a boost. We can have up to 9 people here talking at a time. You don't have to present or join the stage with video. You could come up just with audio. But we do love to take this opportunity to get to know people from the community that we haven't met before, talk about specific questions, and just turn this into a bit of a group chat toward the end of our time. And we'll go about an hour and 15 minutes, and I'll be watching the time. We'll keep it as tight as we can, but of course, feel out whenever you need to. So that's how the things work. And as far as our agenda for today, loosely held, it's casual and fun. We are going to talk about the recent releases and do a few quick demos around what's happened in the Redwood releases. We had back-to-back releases. Hopefully you'll see momentum here picking up, because we have some exciting things happening in the first 3 months here of 2021. And we'll talk about the V1 roadmap. Tom will come in, introduce himself, and then talk about where we're headed in the timeline, what's in the way to get us to version 1 release for Redwood. We're going to meet Claire, who's already here, and talk about the project she's working on, how she came to be a part of the Redwood core team. And we have an exciting presentation for a kind of a Built with Redwood series that we're doing, new application by Kris. He'll come up and do a bit of a deeper dive demo and presentation on his app. He did some cool real-time in his application with Redwood and other things. He's going to talk about that. And that's where a lot more of the discussion and Q&A will come from. So that's what we have planned. Did I miss anything? Does that sound good? Kind of excited. Oh, welcome to 2021. This is our official first 2021 hang time, right? Not to be the last. All right. You guys, no one's talking over this. All right, I know. Okay, let me get us started here. So my name is David Price. I'm on the Redwood core team, and I'm in Northern California now. I normally spend my time in San Francisco, but doing a little homeschool pod. That's a thing now with my family in Northern California. So I'm now in a garage. And it turns out garages are great. You got a space heater. So that's where I'm at. And I help out again on the Redwood core team. I was a part of the 4 founders of Redwood. And where I want to start us out, I'll do a screen share, is talking about, and then Rob and Dom, I'll have you guys come on too, is what's happening with the recent Redwood releases. So let me start there. I'll get my screen share going. Maybe. Oh, they've got new features. All right. Let me know you can see that screen. Yeah, all right, very good. So the first thing I want to highlight is there are ways to actually follow RedwoodJS news and when releases come out. So if you don't know about it, and rightfully so, because we're not super great at the Twitters, but Redwood has a Twitter account. Anthony, who's in the chat, Anthony Campolo, is helping us out. So hopefully you're going to see more activity here. But the best way to find out what's happening with Redwood, both meetups, news events, and importantly for this, when releases are coming out, we'll always get that into the Twitter sphere. So please follow us on Twitter. But we had 2 releases in the last couple of weeks. So 0.23 and 0.22. You click on those links, they take you to our forums, and we'll always post about our releases in our forums as well. Wanted to point that out if you're not a member of our forums. We have a really vibrant and active community. Lots of great people who want to help get you plugged into Redwood. And we'll always create a discussion topic in the announcements channel around our releases that come out. If you follow the forum topics on those releases, it's another great way to ask questions about how to upgrade. Anything that's new in a release is a great place to have discussion. And then also if you have any problems with releasing, we'll normally put that in the discussion thread here. So for example, last week 0.22 came out, and there were a few things we noticed with Prisma. You could follow these forum threads if you have any questions or need help with upgrading a release. And then lastly, where all the code is happening, and you can also get here, is in our GitHub, redwoodjs.redwood repository. You can watch this repo just for releases. There's a lot of new watch features here for Redwood. If you want to know when new releases are coming out, you can follow custom activity here. Starring our repo is helpful for the project. It lets us know that people are active and excited about it. But watching the project is when you can find out about releases. So now that I've told you how to know when releases are happening, we'll dig into a few things that happened in the latest 2 releases. So going down to our 0.22 release, Johan couldn't join us today, but we have Redwood Auth has many different providers for authentication, and Johan, Jalison, just did Azure AD. It's Azure. I said Azure. I'm in Azure. Azure AD authentication provider. I'm not an Azure person, but Johan is. So if you're excited about using Azure Auth, 2 things you can do is 1, click on this link to go to the documentation, and that'll take us to our doc section, and it'll give you a walkthrough of how to set up and use Azure AD Auth for Redwood. Also, you can always look at the code that came in for this, and that's where these PR links are. You can click and see the code within the instructions. Johan, again, couldn't come here today to introduce himself, but he said, please feel free to reach out to him directly if you have any questions. He's working in Windows, he's working in Azure, and is just a great resource for all kinds of things that are happening with Redwood and Windows and Azure. Another fun thing that happened, why don't we do this? Dom and 0.23, I'll stop sharing my screen. We have, let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. We have a new console command, allows you to do a few things with Redwood interactively. So take us on a tour of that. And Dom, please introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Dom, Dominic Sadie, JTOR on GitHub. I'm based in LA and I'm on the Redwood founding team, or sorry, core team. I mainly do some docs and like bug fixes here and there. And one of the latest things I added was the console command. So I'll share my screen here, and I think I have to go into, security and privacy real quick.
Yeah, you do that. I'll talk about here. Click through those things and bring up your screen share. I'll just talk over you while you do, Don, so you can focus.
Can you guys see that now?
Oh, no, it came up quickly. Never mind. We see the infinite windows.
So if you're, first thing first, when you're first getting into Redwood, one of the hardest things to get a hold on could be the Prisma client and getting used to like the Prisma client queries and just the syntax around it. And normally, like the way I would have gotten used to it before was opening the RedwoodJS seed file here, which is how you seed the data in your database, and you can start using the Prisma like client here to do things like find many users or whatever data model you have. But
can you make your font a little bigger?
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, is that too big or?
Okay,
so
one more quick.
As big as you could tolerate.
I can tolerate anything. Does it help if I go full screen, or does that matter?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So yeah, here in this seed file, like if you're just getting started with Redwood, you're gonna have to get used to Prisma first because it's in all the services and everything. And I just wanted to have an easy way for people to do that. So if you go in a Redwood project now, and I'll make this super big as well, if you type yarn Redwood Console, you'll be greeted with a little prompt here that looks like you're in a Node REPL, and you can do anything you would normally do in Node. So, but you can also do anything with the DB, which is the Prisma client in your project. So I have a model named user, and I'm just going to type a Prisma client query here, and it's going to work basically. We've like preloaded the whole Prisma database, the whole Prisma client there. So you can do any query. Like here, I can do a delete.
Delete Tom.
I'm gonna kick Tom off the core team here, and you'll see if I do another user.find many, it'll have the same. It'll have worked basically, and so you can use this to get acquainted with Prisma in a much like more iterative way and like a lot of quick feedback. The one thing I want to warn you about is if you try and use await, like how you would normally do it in a service, you'll get an error that says await isn't like allowed to be used at the top level. So just remember that the REPL will actually automatically resolve any promise, which is why the user find many would like worked here and just printed it out for you. So we're trying to make that experience a little nicer. But if you want to have await work, what you can do is set a global variable, an environment variable called node options to experimental REPL await. And if you set this and then go back to the console, you can use await like you normally would in any of the, user equals await, and then you're good to go. We definitely want to make await just there in the future, and we actually want to have all your services preloaded already, not just the Prisma client. But for now, this is like a great start. And if you're just learning Redwood or wanting more practice with Prisma, like it's definitely a great way to get that really, really easily. Is that?
That's awesome.
Everything else
Thanks, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's docs on this, and they're a little lightweight to start. There's go to redwoodjs.com/docs, and you're looking for the CLI commands. or command line. I forget what the page title is. You can search and find it as well. Look for the console command. You'll find some docs on how to get started. Dom, do you need any help? Any next steps there with the console command?
Yeah, if anyone is interested in contributing to console, it's like a great way to use even like the RedwoodJS structure package, which is like one of the more most interesting packages we got. Anything to do with like grabbing more services and getting it in there, I think it would just like really help with the iterative development. So if you guys are interested in that, anyone out there, like just let me know on the community or GitHub or Discord. Anyway, you want to reach me and I'll help you get started.
Yeah, fantastic. And Dom means that, as does everybody else. We are serious and sincere when we say the Redwood community is all about helping each other be successful with Redwood, because that's how we make Redwood successful. So if you've not said hi, dropped in on the community forums chat or GitHub, please do introduce yourself. Let us know what you're interested or what you're trying to do with Redwood. And I think you'll be delightfully surprised at how many people jump in to help out. So Dom, thank you. That's really exciting. And you know, the founding team just wouldn't be the same without Tom. So anyway, Peter Pistorius is also on the founders. Actually, Tom and Peter are the ones that kicked off Redwood about 2 years ago now. And Peter did a recent PR that's really important if you want to choose a different GraphQL client. We don't have docs on that, but if that's something you're interested in, look in the release notes for 0.22 and check out the PR and the code that came in, because there are instructions on how to swap out your front-end GraphQL client. That's another great question to drop in on the forums. There are several people that I know specifically who are using different GraphQL client providers. And anyway, just drop in for help, because there's other people to be able to walk you through that setup. So, okay, Rob, there's some cool things that happened that you worked on in 0.22 and 2.3. You want to take it from here and introduce a few highlights?
Yes, I like to think of myself as being pretty good at computers, but I don't know how to share my screen on this app. How do I do that? Because I click the gear and nothing in there.
Do you see the down at the bottom of the little window? There's the arrow up.
It's the rightmost button.
Nope.
You don't have it?
Oh.
Do you see?
I see a microphone, a camera, and a gear.
Wow.
Is he
You
not
don't
allowed
get to share.
You have to give me permission to share?
You don't have, I'm guessing there's not permissions. I can't give you permission. You should have it up here, but I wonder if your browser, you on the old Chrome?
I am on Chrome.
Wow.
I have allow access, of course, to my camera and microphone, but I don't see any other option in there about screen permission.
That's super strange. I don't know what to do.
Maybe you come out, come in.
Yeah, should I come back out?
Yeah, do that, and I'll tell you what. We'll go, Tom, if you want to talk about, so we can come back to talk about services, and Rob's got a surprise little announcement here too. So that was going to be our segue, but why don't we do that, Tom? If you want to jump in on version 1 release status, and then Rob, we'll figure it out one way or the other.
Okay, don't make fun of me while I'm gone.
Well, no problems.
Hello, everybody. Tom Preston Warner here, Mojambo on GitHub. I'm founder and on the core team for Redwood. And I wanted to give a quick update on the path to 1.0. All last year, I was saying, hey, we're going to aim for the end of 2020 for a 1.0 release. The end of 2020 has passed, and we still haven't made a 1.0 release. So what's the deal? Well, we didn't finish everything that we wanted to, because it turns out building a full stack web application framework is a lot of work. And we want to make it really, really nice for 1.0. We want it to feel complete. We want it to people to be able to trust it for production applications. And we think that that's more important than meeting some arbitrary deadline that I invented out of nowhere. And so we are now creating a new arbitrary deadline out of nowhere, which is Q1 2021. So hopefully by April, we will have a 1.0. We'll see if we can make that happen. There's still a lot to do. So I'll go over what's left and what we really want to get into 1.0. So TypeScript support is really important to us. We want to have full TypeScript support across the board to be able to create a Redwood application with TypeScript as the default that you have enabled, but then also let you choose to create it in normal JavaScript. So TypeScript support is ongoing. There is a lot of TypeScript support already, but there are some things that remain. We want to tidy up there. We really want to have some support for what we've been calling pre-render, or these bigger ideas that we call Redwood at scale, which are really around ways that you can optimize your application, mostly using some form of caching. To do that, pre-rendering would be one of those. Server-side rendering is another approach to that. A lot of people ask for SSR support, server-side rendering support, and we need to have some kind of an answer for that. So we are working on some solutions for that right now. We're starting with what essentially is pre-rendering. So you would render pages that don't require interactivity. It might be a marketing page that you have, a landing page. You want that to be fully static. We'll make it easy to do that. Maybe you need some skeleton pages to make it possible to do the like when you embed it, when you mention something on Twitter, it pulls the metadata that's necessary. That's hard to do in the fully dynamic way that we have right now. So there are some things that we're working on there. We want that to be available in some capacity for a 1.0, some simple solutions for these things. And then over time, we'll make more and more sophisticated approaches to Redwood at scale, different caching types of things. We're working on that. We want to have some logging support in there that's really nice to use, and we're working on that right now. We have some improvements we need to make to the routes. Specifically, one of the big ones is right now the layouts end up being nested underneath the page, which is the wrong hierarchy. The layouts need to come first so that they don't get re-rendered when you make page transitions. And so we have a draft solution for that we are working on right now, which we think can be really cool and solve that problem without complicating the routes file too much. We really value this single routes file that's fairly flat, and we're trying to maintain that while still being able to get the hierarchical order of pages and layouts correct. So all of this stuff, a lot of this stuff is on the forum. So if you're interested in any of these things, or you're like, hey, how does that work? I want to help. Go to the forums, we can point you in the right direction, or come on Discord and we can point you to those forum posts. We want to make sure that accessibility is going to work well for people to make accessible websites. That's really important to us. We need to do some things on the router side to make sure that that's possible. So we're working on getting someone who can help us work on that functionality. And then over time, we'll increase the ability to make really, really great accessible websites easier, probably post 1.0, but we need to make sure that the router and the built-in stuff, the forms, are going to make it possible to have a really nice accessible website for you. We have some things that we need to do around Prisma. They've removed some things that we need to deal with. These are smaller details. You talked about the graph, being able to swap the GraphQL. That's in there. We will ongoing have this discussion around what's the right GraphQL client. We may switch to something that's not Apollo. That probably won't happen before a 1.0 release, though. We'll probably keep Apollo, I expect. And these are the main things. And we've been driving a lot of this with something that Rob is going to hopefully show you here in a moment. We do a lot of tutorial-driven development, and the release for 1.0 is no exception to that. Do you get your thing working yet, Rob?
I did.
Oh,
yes.
The fourth icon. That'd be a good movie title. Rob's our movie buff.
I've never seen this icon before. This is amazing.
Hey, and if anyone has questions about the V1 roadmap, something that maybe was missing, please feel free to drop those questions in.
Yeah, so that's the bulk of the 1.0 update. There's a bunch of stuff there. It's pretty much all underway, and we have a plan for most of it. We need to probably update the roadmap page. Realize we haven't updated that page in a while. And the README too, because we can do a lot of the things that the README says coming soon. We can remove those coming soons because you can do a lot of those things now.
Yeah, do all kinds of things. Rob, tell us what we can do.
Okay, here's one thing we can do. Let me see if this works. Allow.
And introduce yourself.
Working? Oh, yes.
It's working.
I'm Kanakin on GitHub and Twitter and stuff like that. I'm on the founding team with Tom and Peter and David. I'm originally kind of a Ruby on Rails guy. So I always say, like, anything in the framework that you see that if you know Rails and it feels like Rails, that's probably because of my nagging them to let me do that. And this is actually, I'm going to show another feature that is very Rails adjacent, Rails related. The exciting role of testing. I know everyone's super enthusiastic about that. So we have this new feature here called scenarios. So we have a problem, right? Testing services. Kind of annoying because you need to actually talk to a database. And your development database is going to be in a certain state that you probably like, right? As you're doing your development, you're adding records, moving records. You kind of like that the way it is. You don't want that to get messed up during testing. So one solution, the old-fashioned solution, I guess, would be to mock or stub out all of your database calls. So anytime you're in here and you're doing a find many or a create, you're going to stub this out, and that just kind of sucks. So we don't want to do that. That should be one of the mottos of Redwood is like, if it sucks, we'll try to fix it and make it better. And this is one of the things that sucks. So we came up with this idea of something called scenarios. And the idea being you're going to have test data, but it's not going to be your development database. We're going to create a test database. And you may have noticed the secret .redwood directory that we create. And there'll be a test DB in here. So it's going to have the same structure as your dev database. And Prisma will run migrations against this when you start testing your API. And it'll keep in sync with your dev database structure. And what will happen here is we'll have these, we'll generate this scenarios file. And there's one in here called standard. And what this says is when I run a test, when I run any of these tests in comments, load this data in the test database for me and we'll assume that that's there for the length of our test. So we have this function here, define scenario, and you say the model you want. In this case, we're testing comments. So we're going to create a comment and we're going to create two, and you'll see they're like this. And you give them a friendly name. So this one's Jane and this one's John. And then you give it the actual data that you want to live in the comment. So the name, the body, and in this case, a comment belongs to a post. So we use Prisma's nested create syntax, and this also create a blog post at the same time to attach. So the comment has something to be attached to, I should say. And then this guy down here does the same thing. And then within your test, you say, instead of it, right, or test, we created our own called scenario. We looked at sort of overriding Jest's defaults of it and test, but it just got to be a nightmare. So we just said, screw it. We made our own. So you have your scenario, and you still give it a name of what it's going to do. And then you pass it your function. And in this case, you're going to get a argument called scenario. And this is this data. So now in here, you can say scenario, comment, Jane, post ID, right? So I'm going to get all the comments for this post ID. And here's the post ID that I want is the one that was created in my scenario. And I checked that it was equal. Now, this data, this might not be the only data you ever want for all of your tests. Maybe you want some other snapshot of data at some point. So what you can do is you can create export another function here and give it any other name you want. If you call it standard, again, that's the default one. If you don't do anything else, you'll get this, but you can also create others and give them a name. So in this case, this one's called post only. So this one doesn't actually create any comments, but it does create a post that you can attach a comment to. So now there'll be one post in the database. And in here you say scenario post only, which is the name of that function, right? And then you give it your string, you give it your anonymous function, you pass in your scenario. In this case, I'm creating a comment and I'm using the ID of that post that's in the database thanks to my scenario. And I just check that everything matches. And this checks, right, that the attachment of the comment to the post worked because the post ID of the comment is the same as the post ID in the scenario itself. And this scenario data is the actual data from the database. So it's not just this object. It's this object after it got inserted to the database and Prisma gave us the result back. So you'll have access to like ID or created at anything that would automatically happen as a result of creation. You'll have access to that data here. And that is live as of what, 022? So you can start using that now.
All right. Now, Rob, but what if I wanted some documentation? What if I really wanted to do a deep dive on this learning? How could someone do that?
Like if you wanted a friendly, humorous way to learn how to do this?
Yeah, something that felt personable and, interactive, but almost like I was going through a process, not only learning Redwood, but, getting to meet a great member of the team.
You might want to check out the tutorial part 2, which will actually go live here in a moment. This is Welcome to Redwood Part 2, Redwood's Revenge. And we go through Storybook, we go through Jest, including this new scenario stuff. There's some other new things we've added. And yeah, should we push it live?
Yeah, we should push it live.
Click
This isn't live?
This huge green button.
Ship it.
Yeah, ship it. Merge pull
Oh, wait.
request.
It's too big. It's too big. Did it merge?
I don't
It's
know.
confirmed. It's too big. I can't figure out what's going on. Yay. Okay,
There
so
it
that's gonna be
is.
live in a few minutes, and you'll get to it here on the left nav. So I have tutorial and tutorial 2.
Awesome. What are the highlights in the tutorial too, and why the tutorial too?
Yeah, so in Redwood's README, we talked about a lot of things that we wanted to be able to do, including this stuff with Storybook, sort of creating your components in isolation and then plugging them into your app, and also really thorough testing. And none of that was ready when we launched 0.1 of Redwood back in March. We hadn't actually figured out how to do Storybook ingest stuff yet. So we wrote the tutorial 1 to actually enable you to build an app. And now tutorial 2, you'll be able to go back and sort of from that same app, we have a repo that has a nice snapshot of the final state of tutorial 1. You'll start from there and you'll build some features. You're going to build a comment engine to the blog, and you're going to build features with Storybook. So you'll style them up and get them looking really good here in isolation, sort of in this little view. And then when it looks good, you plug it into the real app. And then we'll also cover all that functionality with tests. So we'll test on the website, we'll test on the services. Yeah, we'll do role-based authorization control. So you can give users roles. So what we do is we create a moderator role, so you can have someone moderate your blog for you, and they can delete comments, but they can't create new blog posts. Yeah, there we go. And as a nod to a little hat tip to someone you're about to hear from, there may be a little Easter egg in here for our fellow core member, Claire. You'll have to read through the tutorial to find it. The end. Now, how do I unshare? Oh, there we go. Am I still here? No one's talking. What happened?
We're in stunned silence.
Oh, no.
Oh, David's gone.
Oh, no.
He's lost internet connection. That's not ideal. Well, I think I'll pretend to be David for a moment. I think next what we're going to do is introduce Claire, who is a core team member, and she's going to talk about what she's doing for Redwood and also how she came to join the core team. Take it away, Claire.
Hello, world. I'm Claire, and people keep introducing me as part of the core team, but I like to think of myself as core team light, because the only contribution I've made to Redwood platform proper is a couple typo fixes. So it's a good segue from what Rob just did, because I'm working in tutorial land. And I'm sure every single person in this room has gotten to know Redwood through that tutorial. And we're hoping to maybe proselytize, Redwood to even the wider world by translating the tutorial. So if you don't mind me sharing my screen now, and let me know, give me a thumbs up if you can see. Ooh.
Oh, you do have the icon and the infinite loop.
I've got all the icons, yep. So you guys are familiar, I'm sure, with tutorial. Part 2 will be up soon, I imagine, if I refresh the page. Oh, look, it's there. But I'm talking about tutorial part 1 is over here. And right now, it's beautiful. It's a great way to get to know Rob. A lot of community members have contributed to it, and it's, how we all got excited about Redwood. And we're thinking of making like a learn subdomain on redwoodjs.com to translate this tutorial into different languages so that we can make it available to more people in the world. And we already have a demo repo up of what that might look like. So it looks pretty similar to the redwoodjs.com website, but we're using a framework called Docusaurus to just solely dedicate this website to docs. And as you'll see, there's a language switcher, and one of our dedicated community members, Tiffin, kindly translated this entire 18,000 word thing into French for us. So that's already good to go. this whole Docusaurus site is still under development, and that's where I wanted to bring it up to you guys in the community today. We have a repo under the RedwoodJS organization called learn.redwoodjs.com. And in here, you're going to find a bunch of open issues, some pull requests. It's very much a under development thing. And if you feel like, man, I really want to get involved with Redwood, but I don't feel like I can contribute to the platform part of it. I'm really good at web dev. I'd like to help out with like the documentation, presentation side of things. This is a really great way to dip your toes into getting started contributing to Redwood. And soon I will have documented like the translation workflow. And we're going to be looking for some help. If you know, like if you're a native in another language, we would love to get you involved, maybe managing translation of a different language, and maybe translating the tutorial part 2 eventually. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of where we're at with this. If you'd like to learn about the saga leading up to the architecture decisions we made, you can check out the docs and content translations area on the forum. And yeah, that's it for me.
Claire, the Claire and team, that's amazing. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just calling BS on core team light, like right now, as I know everyone else would, but we wanted you to share this project and the work that's being done, because Claire, that's amazing, but also we want to do a better job of introducing people that are part of the Redwood community and people that are part of the core team. So Claire, just real quick, because I think this doesn't happen, this happens more often than we say it out loud, but it can be very intimidating, even on the internet, go figure, to become a part of a community of people you don't know, to join it. We talk a lot about the culture and the community of RedwoodJS at large. And as best we can, we're always welcoming, inviting, and just letting people know we want you to become a part of the community, right? Like we're here, that's what it's about. But how did you get here? How was your experience going from Redwood, what's that, to becoming a part of the core team? How did that go?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really introduce myself.
Because I got booted. The system booted me off. So I was going to prompt those questions to start, but thank you all for carrying in. And Tom, I want my rockets back.
Nope.
Well, I have to say, like, I feel like the barrier of entry into the Redwood community is non-existent. It's like, so you guys are just, your arms are like this 10 kilometers wide open. It was super easy to get started. Like I said, my only entry point into Redwood was I heard like one of you guys speaking at a talk, thought it sounded cool, checked out your repo and made some spelling corrections, and then one spelling correction led to another thing, and somehow I got involved. Like it was really nothing scary. You guys are fun people. And that's why I'm hoping that this Learn RedwoodJS thing might be an easy point of entry for those of you that are familiar with web development, but not with like producing like core features for a platform. It's a great way to just dive in and meet people in the community. Myself, I'm very inexperienced dev because I just switched careers like a year ago. I used to be an interpreter and translator, so this is a bit of a 180. And even that, and this being my first open source project, yeah, it's super easy to be in this community, and I'm sure most of you that are here already know that.
Thanks, Claire. That's good to hear. Well, you've been an amazing part of the team. I mean, community at large, and then the core team. You've only added to that. Is it a vibe? The vibe that's a part of what this culture is. So thank you. It's really been a pleasure. And I think the thing that we noticed about Claire as she was even just getting involved is she stepped up and offered to help and asked for help, right? So that can be a very intimidating first step. But Claire, that's what people need to know that are part of the community, that you want to be a part of it, and also you need help becoming a part of it. And that's what you did, and here you are. And this translation, that whole project, and Tifa and everyone else that's been involved, is going to be a huge help to all kinds of people that'll be coming on board with the platform. So Yeah, thank you. It's really a pleasure, and we've had fun getting to know you as well. And someday, I don't know. Remember when you used to like hang out and like meet and travel to be together with people? We'll get to meet you someday. I look forward to that.
Same.
That'll be a good time. So
I'll just
all
add
right.
to
every time I
Yeah, everybody jump in. Hi, Kris.
go ahead, Rob.
you first, go ahead, Tom. Oh, see, every time I listen in on someone introducing themselves in the community, I always ask them this question, which is, who is your favorite fellow core team member?
Why do you ask that?
No reason, no particular reason.
My favorite core team member to make fun of is Rob, for sure.
Damn it. Everyone seems to answer. Everyone seems to answer that same way too. It's weird.
Shocking. I just wanted to say, Rob, I wanted to reiterate that the way that we on the core team think about what is the core team and what are the important roles to be filled and the work to be done. And that's only, I don't know if I could put a percentage on it, a quarter to a half code. Like the code is obviously important. There's a lot there. This project doesn't exist without the code, but it also equally does not exist without the community. And it does not exist without projects like the translation. These are things that help the community to grow, to help the project to grow. It doesn't exist without outreach, without people going on podcasts and talking about it. And your experience level is not material in these things. Like people of any experience level in coding can help in this regard. This is not like the core team is not just a bunch of seasoned developers. It's not at all. It's maybe half. People that have been working for a long time, and the other half is people that are fairly new but are just really into it and want to help and get into it and have been there. And that is what leads to people being on the core team, is a commitment to helping Redwood succeed and helping everyone using Redwood succeed. And it's also a nice way to hang out. Like we've really created I think a neat community here, not just with the core, but through the entire community of people who can hang out, and it's nice to see each other. And especially during COVID, when none of us get to go anywhere and meet people in the real world anymore, it's been really nice for me, and I think the others, to have a group of people that share the same love of programming and want to make web development better for everyone out there, to get together and have that similar thing to talk about. So if anyone here listening to this call now or in the future, if you're interested in those same kinds of things, we very much welcome you. Any experience level, anywhere in the world, any background. If you care about what we're doing, if you think it's cool, join us, and we're very happy to have you.
Hear, hear. And that's what's been happening, aren't just words. Go ahead.
And as Claire said, she started out, fixing my typos. So every time I publish some new documentation, I make entire careers off people fixing my typos. So if you're looking to get into open source, come and fix the typos in the tutorial too, because there will be plenty of them.
I thought you were going to say you make those typos on purpose, just to like lure people in, Rob. So
I should.
Rob's mistakes are intentional.
I should thank Forrest. I don't know if he's here, but he committed a whole bunch of fixes before it went live. So he was my proofreader. So thank you very much, Forrest, if you're here.
Yeah, Forrest, who's
There
been
he
helping
is.
out for a long time.
Thank you.
Well, speaking of people, so we're seeing this someone's name in the forums and asking some questions about Redwood, and some time goes by, and then into the show and tell category in the forum, Kris Colson drops a, hey, here's my new project I just launched. It's real time, check it out. And
Uh-oh.
The suspense.
Great introduction.
Well, I'm assuming he's trying
done.
to get you to show and tell us your project.
Yeah, that was weird. My
Yeah.
internet dropped for a second there too. Yeah, Kris, go ahead with your project. It's amazing.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I guess I can share screen here. I got the fourth button. Share screen. Hold on one sec. I think I gotta. let Chrome access my.
I've got my cat has a weird thing here where whenever I'm in a video chat, she comes up and sits in front of me.
Does anyone know if
It's a squeak.
I think it's obviously, I just gave Chrome access to my camera or recording my screen. I think it might kick me from this call though, because it needs to restart Chrome.
That came up for me too, but I just canceled it out and I didn't restart it yet.
All right, cool. Awesome. So yeah, this is my app. Right now it says the best way to watch Apex Legends, but over the last few months, I think I released this in October. I've been slowly adding more features and I've been getting some good traction. And I am actually going to be working on this full time come end of January. So yeah, I want to show everybody what this is and like how it's working and why it works. Basically, the idea behind this app is that when watching basically esports in general, not just Apex Legends, there's 60 players and there's an official broadcast, and the official broadcast has casters and they talk about the game basically for, I don't know, 6 or 7 games worth of time, and the broadcast kind of always sucked. Like, they'd be switching between players. You can't watch the players you want to watch. You can't hear the players. Basically, it's just the commentators talking about a game and then flipping between different players, and you have no clue what's going on, and hopefully you're getting what you want out of the stream. And I was like, this kind of sucks. I want to make this better. And so, looking at Twitch, there's other streamers who are also streaming the game, and they're using a different product, and they're using this product called Multi-Stream. Multi-Stream right here lets you watch multiple streams of players, and they're kind of doing their own broadcasts. And like you can add streams here, and you'll have a bunch of different streams, and you can watch, and they would commentate over this. And like that was like the workaround so that people could actually get good commentating on the games. And I was like, this sucks, because what these watch party guys are doing, they're hosting these watch parties, they're like, oh, well, they want to watch this guy and they want to make it full screen. They make it full screen, but then if they want to watch this guy, they have to come and they have to mute it, and they have to like hit this full screen, and the process is just bad. And on top of that, all of the people that are watching, like if they don't know who's playing in these tournaments, they don't know the name of their streams. The streams are everywhere. There's a lot of unknown players who want to get better, get known, and like really try to take their career, and they're doing this as a career, right? And so I feel like they should have a little bit more notoriety in trying to find them, and that's why I kind of created this app. So I'll get into my app and how it differs from Multi-Stream. So what I've done originally when I started this thing, I just had and when I launched it on Redwood, I just had the currently competing teams and the official broadcast up here. And what the currently competing teams did was basically aggregated all the different streams of the players. And then when you click on them, you can actually get a stream of all the different players. And this is awesome. This actually got a lot of traction, and people were like, dude, this is awesome. This is amazing. I also want these features and these features. And one of the cool features that we have here is you're able to drag and drop these things. So if you want to watch a specific player, you can actually watch all the players, but you can listen to one player's comms at the same time. So you can hear them talking, and they're all basically, they're all in the same game. So they're all talking about the same exact thing. And so if you hear one, you can hear them all. But you can see all the different point of views of the game. And then if you want to watch a specific player, you can just kind of drag and drop and make them bigger, as well as interact with all 3 of their chats at the same time. And what that led me to was, okay, this is cool, but first off, I want to watch other teams. I don't just want to watch one team. I want to watch multiple teams. And that's kind of where I took the multi-stream idea, and I created this custom view. And so when you click custom view, you can actually go through all the different players and add them to your own view. So we can like look at all these players that are online, but have a little green outline around them. And I can click them, and when I can see all of their views, and I can chat in all of their different chats, and it just automatically updates, and we're able to watch different players. I think the cool part about the custom view that I did that was different than what multi-stream is doing is that when you click on any of these names, it'll actually unmute their stream. So you don't have to do that thing where you're unmuting and making full screen. And if you click any of these little full screen icons, it'll actually just blow the screen up and you can instantly filter through them, and it'll mute all the ones that are still in the background that are playing. So it kind of gave way to a better esports kind of viewing process. And then recently, just mute this, I don't know if you guys can hear it. Recently, what I added was, and where this is real time, is these little green icons are actually being pulled in from Twitch webhooks. And I was like, I have no clue how I'm going to be able to do this, specifically with Redwood. And also, I haven't ever done real time before, or really WebSockets. I do a lot of front end work, not good with the database as well, and I don't really know how to make this work, especially on serverless. And so what I actually before I get that, I kind of want to show you a little GIF that I created for how this works. So when you start streaming, you can see I start streaming here. Actually, can you guys see my screen? Is that showing? Right? Sorry, I don't know if I'm.
Well, I'm not sure we see what.
This might not be in Chrome, so that's why I'm kind of wondering if it's not showing.
Sometimes it won't stream.
Like for a second.
If there's a movie or something, it might not stream that.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see something really quick.
Yeah, we don't see any video in that OBS window, but the other streams we were seeing.
Okay, so you do see the OBS window though.
We do, but it's just a black square inside. Okay,
that's fine. I wasn't actually streaming anything. That's why I wasn't showing it. I was kind of just trying to show off the webhook here. So I created this GIF basically when the webhooks kick off and when you start streaming in OBS. This is me testing it to make sure it works before I actually implemented it. And when you click start streaming.
Sorry, Kris, can you make your text a little bit bigger? Can you?
I can't on here because this is a GIF.
Oh.
But yeah, basically, I just want to kind of show off that these the live stream webhooks events come in when I go live, and when I click off, they send another webhook event to turn it off, and then I use that to trigger this little green icon around the circle here around my name, which is really helpful because a lot of times these streamers, they'll go off mid game or they come on mid game and you don't actually know that they're there. And before, what's happening is if I go back to Chrome here, you can see that like a lot of these players are offline, and during tournaments, it kind of sucks if they're offline and you can't really see them, but you click them and then you just takes all the loading and does all this other stuff, but no one's actually online. And so with these green icons, I was able to basically show that these players aren't on and give people the players that they want to watch. Yeah, so I guess going into that, now that I kind of show you what the real-time aspect of it is, I wanted to kind of demo and show you how I figured out how to do it, because it wasn't as straightforward as it seems, but in the end, it became really easy. And so what I did is I went to my favorite website, good old community redwoodjs.com, and I searched how to implement real time. And I got this first answer here. And then I scroll down a little bit and I see that David responds with, "I'm not sure this is going to work." And then I was like, wow, this sucks. How am I going to do this? And that was in May. Of last year. And as I kept scrolling down, there's some ways of doing it. There's hosting your own Redwood, and also doing polling. And I was like, I really don't want to do either of those. And then I started to see that Superbase started popping up, and there was a bunch of posts on the forums about it. And I was like, what is this? And it's a real-time database similar to Firebase. And I was like, I mean, maybe that could work. I really want to keep Netlify right now. I don't want to create my own server. I don't want to deal with that. I want to keep Netlify. I want to, because I was currently on Netlify auth. I had already set it up. I didn't want to like switch off a Netlify auth and all that kind of stuff too. And I decided that I would give Supabase a try and just see what was going on with this. And it's a new technology, and that's kind of why I jumped on Redwood right at the beginning. Was that it was a new technology. It looked really awesome, and I might as well give it a try and learn something new. And that's kind of where it led me to Supabase. And if anyone doesn't know, Supabase is a real-time database that'll actually export or basically send events out from the database when you make updates to the database. And that's pretty much, that's what it does. It also gives you a bunch of auth and other stuff. But the bad part is I created TeamStream with Heroku before Supabase was a thing. Following the tutorial, it was like I followed the tutorial line by line, got a Heroku database, and created TeamStream off of that database. And then I was like, okay, how do I get my data from Heroku now to Supabase? Because I already put a month's worth of data, streams, channels, events, all this other stuff into my database. And I did not want to start over because it takes a really long time to get all the channels from Twitch. And so this isn't the first page I came to, by the way. There was a bunch of other pages that I went to find out how to do backups, and I've tried multiple different things, including exporting my files to CSVs. But in the end, the best way to do it was to just use the Heroku docs and download the backup. And so I'm going to kind of just give a quick little demo of how I did this. If you look over here, I set up this TeamStream demo. There's no tables in it yet. And all I have to do is backup, run the Heroku backup on TeamStream, and it downloads the dump file. The dump file is currently living on my desktop. And then let me just copy this. This is a demo, by the way, so it'll be deleted. I see my URL and stuff's in there, but and then when I paste this in and I hit enter, oh. That's not good.
It's a live demo. It's not supposed to work.
Yeah, I know. We'll try it one more time. Okay, anyway, I thought that was gonna work because it worked yesterday when I did the test. But basically, since that's not working, I will I'll show you the test. And what that does is it'll import all your data into Supabase. And now I have all the tables in here. I can view them all. I can see 4,500 rows of players and basically everything. And Supabase is super awesome because you have all the data right in front of you, and you can actually run queries on it from here, input your queries, run them, test it, and everything seemed to be working fine. So once I had my data in Supabase, the next step was to figure out how to do the client. And surprisingly, this is super easy with Supabase. All you have to do is copy this code right here. So if you go to, if you go to your demo and you click on the API, you'll get this little introduction section, and it talks about client libraries. And you can just copy, this is your key to your database. And you just copy this, put it in your front end code. Let me pop up that one. You paste it in over here, and then you have access to Supabase. And also you just import the create client at the top. and then you have access to Supabase, and then you can just subscribe basically to which table and what action that you want to listen to. And that data can be found if you just click on the client docs right here, and you click on subscribe. It pretty much just tells you to do exactly that, and you'll be able to subscribe to the changes. One thing to note here, and I had to do this, was since I don't know if it was just because I was from Heroku or if this is just kind of an issue, but Redwood's console was yelling at me that I needed to add this to my table. And this is actually, I'm not super familiar with databases and connecting to the database, so I ended up just copying this. And when you're in your dashboard, in the queries, you can actually just paste it in, put your table name in, and then just run the query, and it'll just update that table to have the replica identity, which that's what Supabase uses to handle sending the events out when it's doing live stuff. Yeah, and then so once you have the connection open, sorry, kind of going everywhere here. Once you have the connection open, you just subscribe, and then you can do whatever happens when the payload comes in. I think the one thing from here that I had to do next was that I just need to set up the subscriptions to Twitch to get the webhooks working. And to do that, I have this event subscription, which creates a subscription with Twitch, and it uses my callback URL to call my function. This was something new that I hadn't done before, but this is just a custom function that Redwood supports out of the box. You can just create a file underneath the functions next to your GraphQL API, and basically that's your new endpoint, which would just live at Netlify functions Twitch webhooks, or whatever your custom function name is. And then in there, all you do is your code. When that callback gets hit, what are we going to do? And if you look here, this is all setting up the subscription in the first place. They send multiple calls to verify that you own that endpoint. And then when the Stream Online event comes, I just update the channel database table with isLive to true, and also set the subscription ID so that I can cancel these subscriptions if I want to. And when the stream goes offline, I just set it to false. Then the database, since we have the subscription set up on the front end of the client, this channel gets updated, and then we just set the channel to whatever is live. And that kind of completes the round trip of the entire process of getting the live events to the front end in real time. I think that's pretty much it. I'm open for questions, and I'll just kind of drop, hopefully I didn't speak too fast, but just kind of drop my GitHub is Kris Coulson, and my Twitter is NJ, and you can find the website at teamstream.gg and also the Twitter at teamstreamgg.
Yeah, fantastic. Kris, drop that in the chat if you want as well for that. So there's a lot more simplicity there compared to the complexity I thought I would go through.
Yeah, when I did it the first time, obviously there was a million tabs open on my screen looking at how to do all this stuff. But when you get to actually implementing it, which maybe I just need to create like a little tutorial or something on and put it on the community forum. But yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I literally copy and pasted that client code from Supabase and pasted it in my front end and then in a React hook, and it just worked. So it's pretty awesome. And honestly, without Redwood, this would take me ages, honestly.
So you came to this project mostly as a front end developer, and okay, so well that's great to hear. And so stepping into the database back inside, a lot of services. How's your experience gone with Redwood moving from front end to being full stack?
Yeah, so I think I have experience in back end work. I've worked in a Rails environment, and we kind of made it a spa from the front end, was just all React, and we just made Rails the API in the end. We kind of converted it. So I have experience, obviously, in some of the database stuff, but GraphQL was completely new, and Prisma is obviously very new, and there's a lot of time I had to put into actually reading the documentation. The Prisma docs are a little everywhere sometimes if you're looking for specific things. But overall, it was pretty straightforward. This app is majority of it is front end work. It's a lot of stuff that has to do with clicking events and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, overall, I haven't had too much of a problem, and I've just been kind of advocating for everybody that I know to use it and use Redwood. I think my buddy is actually, I told him about this meetup, and he's in the chat, and he just did his college project. I got him to use Redwood for his senior project, so apparently he learned a lot too.
Hey, fantastic. Let's go. We've got some time. Let's just open up for general questions, discussion, especially for Kris. But there was some other one. Smen, I believe, had a question early on about some other features for Redwood. Let's get those questions up here and going. But yeah, let's open up for conversation. If anyone would like to come up on the stage to ask a question live, please feel free. Let me know in the chat, and I can invite you up on the stage. We'll do it that way. So yeah, anyone else? Tom, Rob, Dom, questions for Kris? Things about.
Yeah, someone asked earlier. I can't find it now, but is this all open source, Kris, or is this?
It's actually not. It's not open source right now. I mean, if anyone wants to see, I can invite you as a collaborator. It's not anything I'm keeping secret, but I think I plan on moving this thing to production and working on it full time coming up, and I want to expand it to a lot more games. So I don't know if I'll make it open source, but yeah, if anyone wants to see the code, I have no problem kind of sharing it at this point.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'll just talk about it. There's a couple of different games. There's a lot of games that have similar systems, but the more I've talked to people on these forums and stuff that have been really enjoying using my platform, they've all suggested multiple other games, or pretty much any game can kind of benefit from something like this that's a multiplayer game, just because there's all these different perspectives and you're trying to watch everything at the same time, and it just seems it's very hard to watch and know who's playing. So yeah.
Huh. Do you think Twitch would be interested in acquiring this software from you?
I mean, if they want to, here you go.
Yeah, this was awesome, Kris. I just the real-time aspect was really cool to see that in a Redwood app, because that was a major question, is how are we going to do this with this new technology WebSockets? And it was really inspiring to see you just go to the community forum, because we've all done that locally, right, of just typing it in and going to see it, and just seeing that it's actually paying off is just a good feeling.
Yeah, actually, let me share screen one more time. I'll show you. It's funny. I think David actually asked me when I first launched this thing. When I posted on the Apex tournament viewer thing, Tom asked some questions for some feedback, and then David said, "I'm curious how you've done subscriptions." I was like, "I haven't done any subscriptions yet." So it's kind of cool that I was able to go back and find a way to implement those things and see that there's a way to do it. I'm not 100% on board with Superbase just yet, but so far my experience has been pretty good. No problems. I know they're still in beta, so I don't want to advocate too much yet.
A question from Mike about where the connecting is happening. So his question was, so to be clear, the client was connecting directly to Superbase. So just how's the data flow going? Yeah,
so Superbase actually, if you look through some of their documentation, they host an Elixir server, I guess, and that basically transmits. It's the WebSocket that transmits it from their database to your front end. So there is I'm not exactly sure how it does it, but I don't think it connects directly to the database. I think they pass it through their Elixir server.
And then the webhook you have is updating the Superbase database.
Yeah, so the webhook I have, I just followed some of the more tutorials, actually, maybe the cookbook stuff that says, here's how you create a custom function, and then you have access to the database in your custom functions. So I just use that to update the database.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Mike put a data flow in here that I think is correct. Like Twitch issues a webhook to your Netlify function. Your Netlify function updates Supabase, and your client is there talking to Supabase, and so it knows that it can now turn the thing green.
Yeah, exactly. We update the database, and then Supabase sends the data to the front end.
Got it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people have been excited about Supabase recently. One of our core members, David Teresin, DT, has done a lot of work with Supabase, I think, and it seems really into it. So it looks like there's a lot of promise there in Supabase for these types of use cases.
I'll also give David another shout out too. Other David, we call him, but
David Prime.
Yeah, I'll give him a shout out because I asked a lot of questions in the quick feedback, and he was always there to kind of reach out and answer those questions too.
We had a question earlier on that we'll kick over to. This was Smen Roll's question. He was wondering, and this was back to roadmap and just features for Redwood. Kris, if you had some things to add on to this, we always ask people that are presenting what their wish list for things they want Redwood to do in the future is. So be thinking about that as well, Kris, if you'd like to add. But Smen's questions were, are there any plans, or is it already included perhaps, for Redwood to include things like image optimization, internationalization, analytics, to make those things easier for devs? Or do you want to keep it more open for people to choose for themselves as of now? Yeah, anyone want to take that question? I have some thoughts there, and also some current things that are in process.
For that question, I think the answer is anything that makes the developer's life easier, we would love to have some solutions for. So common things that you want to do, like optimize images, absolutely. I would love for us to have a solution for that, or at least an endorsement for a third-party thing that could do it. Like Redwood's not going to do everything you could ever want to do. Some things make sense for Redwood to take care of natively. Other things make less sense, like authentication. It makes more and more sense these days to use third parties for authentication. Now, we want it to be possible to do things with Redwood, but we'll often endorse third parties, or like hosting uploaded files, for instance. These things are so commoditized now that it doesn't make sense to build your own solution to that. They're cheap enough and good enough and save you enough time that the Redwood core experience is not going to be like, and here's like a solution to upload files to your own Redwood application, because it doesn't make a ton of sense. And so in those cases, we might endorse third-party solutions and then show you how to hook them up really easily. So I think it depends on the specific situation. And this is a great place for cookbooks. So if any of you in the course of working with Redwood and you find a way to solve these problems, these make excellent cookbook articles. If you are interested in contributing back to Redwood but don't necessarily want to contribute to the code, writing up a cookbook and saying, here's how I solved this specific problem in this very specific context. Those things are really useful. Kris, like you're saying, when you come to the forums and you're looking for something, we can point people to those cookbooks and they can be like, oh, this is how I do this this is one way that I can do this real-time type of a thing. It's really nice to have those resources available.
So another, a command that Redwood has currently implemented, and there's a lot more to come with it, is the setup command. And I believe it's similar, I've been told it's similar to things like what's called a recipe in the Gatsby world. But a setup command is a way to initialize or config or install something like boilerplate packages for I18N, so internationalization. And there is a setup command currently, if you went to yarn redwood setup I18N, that would roll out, it's kind of the first take, but the initial boilerplate you need and the packages you need for I18N. There might, I think GitHub issue right now, there's someone talking about that package. It might need some work, but we could use some help with the i18n package currently for the setup command. But then also, what else would you like to see in your Redwood project that could be a setup command? So that's where Tailwind falls in. Not everyone's going to want to use Tailwind CSS, but for those that do, Yarn Redwood setup Tailwind gives you all the packages and the boilerplate code you need to configure out of the box. So that's how we'll start to handle some of those types of, a lot of people need these packages or this type of feature in Redwood, but not everyone, and that'll come through the setup command. So yeah, let us know if you have more questions about that. Benjamin, welcome, you brave
Thanks,
soul.
good to be here. Yeah, I joined.
Stage.
I joined during the big conference, the one that Netlify hosted. Oh yeah, Jamstack Conf. I remember the name.
Yeah,
yeah. And back then I lived in Miami. Now I'm in Philadelphia, and I'm only a few miles away from Comcast. And so I'm thinking about how I could protest their headquarters.
Hey, no, we don't do that anymore. We had a big week last week, and
yeah, maybe wait a few weeks until this thing has died down.
Exactly. So,
yeah,
but thank you on my behalf.
Yeah,
I appreciate the help.
Yep. And I am wondering about hybrid applications where some of it is serverless and some of it is not. And I think it's along the lines of what Kris was doing. And the reasons why you might need a hybrid application would be if you have something that really needs to be connected all the time. And one example for that is Discord bots. So I'm thinking that that would be a good cookbook item. And I'm currently working on my first Redwood project. And once I get that done, I might take that on. But the basic idea would be that you would store as much of your configuration as you can in the serverless platform, and they would use a database to coordinate with each other. And you would have a low configuration thing where you could, on a $5 DigitalOcean droplet, run your long running process like a Discord bot on it.
Okay. Can you help us with this? So I looked into this exact thing for our Discord and realized we needed persistence. We needed a listener. And this was where we needed to go. We need to have a very low cost, persistent server running that can listen, but then we can use the rest of the serverless infrastructure to handle everything else. So what you're saying is you want to build this Redwood community.
I'll jump right into it then. I was going to but I'll still try to get a little bit.
See,
I'll get a little bit more ahead on my first Redwood project, and then I'll jump into it. But I'll try and jump into it by the end of the week. So.
Oh man, well there's no pressure in that, but yeah, very interesting. Peter's not here, but he's working on some things that could be considered hybrid. Yeah, do we know, we mentioned other people, but yeah, serverless and bots, that gets interesting, but that's a whole space that does need to be considered. So
yeah, the basic idea is that there would be database models that would store the configuration, and you would sign in to it and grab like a token or something like that, and then you could just set one environment variable in the DigitalOcean thing, and then it would pull down the rest of the configuration. Or it would just have you add the environment variables you need somehow. But all of the major stuff would happen in the serverless environment, including running the requests for the bots. So because you don't want to have to worry about your non-serverless component thing, because then you're playing system administrator. So basically all of the complex stuff would be on the serverless platform, and the simple stuff of running a bot would run on the on the tiny $5 instance. And you would, and for real-time stuff, it would be interesting to explore Supabase and have the bot be able to respond instantly, or not respond instantly, but the bot instantly respond to the database changes and then post an alert there.
Could be fun. Well, there's a team being recruited right now in the chat channel, so I like it. Well, this would be fun.
Nice.
Welcome to the community. And you've just demonstrated for everyone how non-complex it is to become a part of the Redwood. Oh, you've got an idea? We love ideas. We'd love some help. So anyway, Benjamin, let us know in the community how we can help you as you kind of get your first app underway, and also it'd be fun. And Jace, I think you mentioned too, David Prime, so David Tierson. We've also talked about ways we want to integrate our different community platforms together, and so a Discard bot is one way that we could integrate chat with forums with other things. So there are some ideas we have there, and we'd love to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, another thing that I'd like to point out is the Awesome page. Like, I'm a huge fan of Awesome, and I believe Sindre Sorhu started the Awesome project, and I love all of his work. And so I'm thinking of making like my own OAuth thing, and it might not be enough to like go in the official docs at first, but it's something that could be added to the Awesome page. And so basically, like, the Awesome page is a great place to post all sorts of experimental stuff and integrations.
Yeah, someone, Anthony, if you're out there, please, or listening, please post that link to the Redwood Awesome project. There it is. That's great. Very fun. Well, hey, more questions. Someone was asking Kris what the hardest thing in your project was. And Benjamin, stick around. Oh, okay. You didn't have to peel out, but so that was a question. I am noticing the time. I think people are going to peel out. We'll do a hard stop here at the hour. But yeah, thanks to Benjamin's still around. But yeah, other challenges, Kris, with your project that you didn't talk about specifically yet.
Yeah, I mean, it was all a little hard. The whole entire project was a little hard, but it was a lot of fun learning. I think I don't have one thing that was like more hard than the other. Mostly it would probably just be the Prisma docs, coming from not really a backend kind of platform and knowledge. But yeah, just navigating their structure of like includes and nested relationships and all that kind of stuff was very foreign in the sense of like how they were doing it and how the nested structure has to be. That kind of was one of the trickier parts. But once I figured that out and how to do that, it became a lot easier. I think going back to Redwood, some of the things that I think Tom had talked about earlier, which was the router. I think the router needed a little bit of work. In my app, if you kind of look, I'll kind of share a screen one more time. If you look, okay, I got to select it. If you look here, if I click on any of these teams, it's still events. Like I'm solely doing this on the front end and updating this stuff via state. It would be really nice to be able to like have this be like teams or something, but the layout right now would cause a re-render every single time I try to do something like that. And so I'm doing this just via state for now. It would be really cool if the router was a little bit more powerful in the sense of that aspect. I think I wrote up actually a whole post on things I thought would be a little bit easier. Definitely in the forum somewhere, or on my post actually.
Yeah, you did. That was you had some good pieces. It's interesting to see too. Even so, it's been maybe 2-3 months now, so not long since that post was out. But there's been some headway on some of the things you mentioned in there as well. But yeah, how long have you been working on this project? Just to give people a sense of time and commitment on your end.
Okay, so it's a little long, but not that long, because I saw when Redwood was announced, there was like a big announcement in maybe like March or something right around coronavirus time. And I was like, well, I have a lot of free time now. I can check this out. I have like, it's either that or I'm going to play video games all the time. And I was watching one of those watch parties and I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, I hate this. I hate this guy. He keeps clicking all these buttons just to like view full screen and all this stuff. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. And so I started working on it in maybe like May area. And then I dropped the project because that's what you do with side projects. You just start working on them and then you never finish them. But then at the beginning of maybe like February of this year, I created this little Post-it note that I was looking at all year long. That says execute on an idea. And back in like August, I think, or early September, I was like, all right, let me pick this thing back up and do this thing. And this has just been sitting on my desk, like staring me in the face. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I started working on it basically in September, and from there on out, just been working on it after work, after working hours and on weekends and stuff.
Fantastic. That's great. I love that. And regarding the router, definitely it's in the works. We have what we think will be a good solution to the layout problem, and that's my fault. I caused that problem.
No worries.
Oh, we're working on fixing it.
All right, we're about to sign off. Welcome to 2021. Any last questions, comments? I've got a few announcements about what's next here, but anything else before we sign off? Nope. Oh, Redwood IDE. Forbes was asking a question. Updates there.
Yeah, so the Redwood IDE it's available. You can use it. Aldo, who's been the primary person behind it, has like some giant rewrite of the structure package that he's a little afraid to merge because it's a ton of code and he wants more people invested in it so that it doesn't become out of date. And that's really responsible for powering all the things the IDE can do. So I think there is some motion there. We just need to get more eyes on it and look at it and make Aldo less afraid to merge it. And then there will be some improved things in the IDE. But if anyone is interested in language servers or IDE improvements, we are definitely looking for additional contributors in that regard. We need more people that love compilers and language servers and that realm. So if that's you, we have some work that you may enjoy. And I would love for Redwood to have a really, really amazing IDE experience. I think it could be really differentiating for Redwood, and we put in the energy and the work to make it possible. So I think we can go really far there.
Yeah, if you don't know about the structure package, it's worth a look and a deep dive. It really differentiates Redwood as a framework because it allows you to create an entire graph structure of your project and explore it. But imagine being able to hit an API and ask questions about your project. Give me all the routes. Give me all the services. Let me know pages. Then you get diagnosed. So there's a diagnostic tool command. It's the check, Redwood check. That's using the structure package to explore your app and look for certain structural features. And if they're not there, then it can send you an error signal. And then the IDE lives on top of that, and there's other cool things to come. This is where some of the things that we're calling Redwood performance at scale, and we're working on the pre-render, for example. That's a performance at scale issue. Those things will leverage the structure package so that we can do things with your application at build time and beyond. So it's cool. It's nerdy. So if you want to get nerdy, check out the structure package. All right, the next Redwood meetup is going to be coming in February, and we'll start doing these on a bit more of a regular pace. So follow us on Twitter, RedwoodJS. The forums, we'll be posting those messages as well. And we also need to figure out just a central place you can subscribe to meetup notices, and that'll be coming too. We'll have a common place where you could follow all RedwoodJS meetups as they come. Be looking for that in February. And I think that's it for all. Lots of exciting things. Thank you to everyone that joined us up on stage. Kris, thank you for your time, and well done on the app.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for building Redwood. I plan to keep on contributing and where I can, And I'll definitely make sure to check out your new tutorial, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Find
Kris.
those typos, let me know.
Live. All right. And Kris,
Hopefully,
go back to that thread, Kris, and post information on how people get a hold of you. And if there's anything you need from the community, post that as well. We'll do a write-up on this, but make sure that we all have your info and how we can follow your project and what's happening.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Sorry, Rob, go ahead.
Hopefully, I was gonna say, hopefully a in-person Redwood Conf someday soon.
Soon. Define soon.
Well, on the age of the universe.
Okay, that's fair.
It'd be real soon.
It'd be very soon.
That'd be
Someday there will be a Redwood Conf. I agree.
All right. Well, special thanks to Comcast for letting me stick around for the rest of the meetup. And otherwise, we'll see you all soon and catch you on the internet before then.
All right.
Thank you all.
See ya.
See you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming. Bye.